Mountain Black Widow kissed Apache man to save him from drowning. Now his tribe says they have to marry. The dusty streets of Silver Rock parted before Alara Freeman like the Red Sea. Women clutched their children closer. Men tipped their hats but averted their eyes. The whispers followed her every step through the frontier town. Black Widow. That woman brings death to every man she touches. 3 husbands dead and buried. Alara kept her chin high as she approached the general store. Her dark skin glistened with sweat under the harsh 1878 sun. The shopkeeper, Mrs. Henderson, served her with trembling hands and counted her coins twice. At the saloon, Sheriff Silas McCree watched through grimy windows, his weathered face twisted into a scowl. The badge on his chest caught the light as he stepped outside. McCree blocked her path. His hand rested on his gun belt. The silver star gleamed with authority and menace. Alara met his stare without flinching. She had faced worse than small-town lawmen. Her grandmother had survived slavery. Her mother had endured Reconstruction. Fear was a luxury she could not afford. The sheriff spat into the dirt. His message was clear without words. Keep to yourself. Stay out of sight. Don't cause trouble. Alara gathered her supplies and headed toward the mountains. Her cabin sat on the ridge overlooking the valley. Smoke curled from Apache territory in the distance. Tensions had been rising for months. Broken treaties left both sides hungry for conflict. In the wilderness beyond town, Nahuel crouched beside the rushing river. His Apache scout training kept him hidden among the rocks. He studied the settler patterns below. His people wanted war. Their war chief demanded blood for blood. But Nahuel questioned everything. Peace seemed possible if both sides would listen. His tribe saw this as weakness. They called him soft, an outsider who forgot his warrior blood. Dark clouds gathered overhead. The storm came fast and violent across the plains. Lightning split the sky like angry spirits. Thunder shook the mountains. Nahuel mounted his horse as rain began to fall. The path home was treacherous but familiar. He had ridden it countless times. The river below roared with sudden fury. From her cabin window, Alara watched the storm approach. She had learned to read weather patterns from her grandmother. This one carried danger. Lightning struck close enough to rattle her windows. The bolt that changed everything came without warning. White fire connected sky to earth. Nahuel's horse reared in terror. Both rider and animal tumbled into the raging water below. Alara saw the splash from her window. Someone was drowning in that torrent. Race did not matter. Culture meant nothing. A human life hung in the balance. She ran toward the water without hesitation. 3 feathers watched from the rocks above. The young Apache scout had been trailing Nahuel. Now he witnessed something that would change 3 worlds forever. Alara plunged into the icy torrent without hesitation. The current slammed her against rocks and dragged her downstream. She fought against the water's fury with desperate strokes. Nahuel floated face down 20 yards ahead. His body moved like a broken doll in the current. Blood streamed from a gash on his forehead where lightning had struck near his horse. She reached him as they both swept toward the rapids. Her fingers locked around his buckskin shirt. The fabric tore but held. She kicked toward the bank with everything she had left. The muddy shore felt like salvation under her knees. Nahuel lay motionless beside her. No breath moved his chest. His lips had turned blue from the cold water. Alara pressed her ear to his chest. Nothing. She tilted his head back and opened his airway. Her grandmother's teachings echoed in her memory. Breath of life, sacred healing. She sealed her lips over his and breathed deeply into his lungs. Once. Twice. His chest rose and fell with her rhythm. She pressed her palms against his ribs and pushed hard. Water gushed from his mouth. She breathed into him again. His body convulsed as life returned. Nahuel coughed and gasped, but his eyes remained closed. From the rocks above, 3 feathers witnessed the sacred act, the kiss of breath, the joining of spirits. Ancient Apache law was clear about such bonds. Alara dragged Nahuel toward her cabin as the storm raged around them. His weight made each step a battle. Lightning continued to split the sky, but she refused to abandon him. Her small home became a healing sanctuary. She stripped away his wet clothes and wrapped him in wool blankets. Fever burned through his body for 3 days. She fed him medicine made from willow bark and mountain herbs. The knowledge came from her grandmother, a woman who had learned healing from 3 cultures during her years in bondage. African root medicine, Cherokee plant wisdom, plantation remedies born from desperation. Nahual's eyes opened on the 4th morning. Confusion clouded his features as he took in the unfamiliar surroundings. A black woman sat beside his bed grinding herbs with a stone mortar. She offered him water without speaking. He drank gratefully and studied her face. Kindness lived in her dark eyes. Strength showed in the set of her jaw. Their conversation revealed unexpected common ground. Both lived as outsiders in their communities. Both dreamed of peace between the warring cultures. Both carried the weight of being misunderstood. Nahual spoke of his vision for unity. Alara shared her desire to heal rather than harm. The connection between them grew with each exchanged word, but duty called him home. His people would search for him soon. Apache warriors did not disappear without consequences. He thanked her for saving his life and prepared to leave. 3 feathers had already reached the tribal camp with his report. The young scout stood before Chief Apache with urgent news. He described the lightning strike, the drowning, the sacred rescue. The kiss of breath created spiritual bonds that could not be broken. Ancient law demanded marriage between the woman and the warrior she had saved. Chief Apache listened with growing concern. The chief was a wise man who balanced tradition with survival. His people faced mounting pressure from settlers and cavalry. Internal divisions weakened them further. This situation would test every skill he possessed. Nahual returned to camp expecting warm welcomes. Instead, he found ceremonial preparations and serious faces. Chief Apache explained the law he had forgotten, the bond created by the breath of life. Marriage was not optional. The spirits had chosen his bride through her act of salvation. Honor demanded he accept this sacred union. Nahual realized he had never mentioned Alara's race to anyone. The revelation split the tribe immediately. War Chief Ayana saw insult in mixing Apache blood with outsiders. Other warriors questioned the validity of ancient laws in modern times. Young braves wanted to know if their traditions still held meaning. Chief Apache sent messengers to Silver Rock. They carried formal demands for the wedding ceremony. Alara Freeman must come to the Apache camp to fulfill her spiritual obligation. Sheriff McCree intercepted the tribal messengers at the town limits. His face turned red with rage as he heard their demands. No black woman would marry into the Apache tribe on his watch. The news spread through Silver Rock like wildfire. Angry voices filled the saloons and general store. Some men talked of forming armed posses. Others spoke of protecting their community from savage demands. McCree rode hard toward Alara's mountain cabin. His horse kicked up clouds of dust on the winding trail. The situation threatened to explode into open warfare between 3 communities. He found Alara tending her herb garden in the afternoon sun. Her calm demeanor infuriated him more than defiance would have. She listened to his threats without showing fear. The choice was impossible. Honor the Apache custom and risk her life among hostile warriors. Refuse their demands and watch innocent people die in the conflict that would surely follow. Alara looked toward the distant Apache territory. Smoke signals rose against the blue sky. 2 worlds waited for her decision. 3 cultures balanced on the edge of violence or understanding. She had saved 1 life by the river. Now she faced the chance to save many more. The path forward led through fire, but she had never backed down from righteous fights. Alara packed her few belongings at dawn. Sheriff McCree's threats echoed in her mind, but she had made her choice. Bloodshed would follow if she refused the Apache demand. Too many innocent lives hung in the balance. The trail to Apache territory wound through rocky canyons and pine forests. Her horse picked its way carefully over loose stones. Every step carried her further from the familiar hatred of Silver Rock toward unknown dangers. Apache scouts watched her approach from hidden positions. Their faces remained stone masks as she passed. Word traveled ahead through smoke signals. The black woman was coming to fulfill her obligation. The tribal camp sprawled across a wide valley dotted with traditional dwellings. Cooking fires sent smoke spiraling into the clear mountain air. Children stopped their games to stare at the unexpected visitor. Warriors emerged from their homes with weapons close at hand. Their dark eyes studied every detail of her appearance. Whispered conversations followed her progress through the camp. Chief Apache waited beside the central fire pit. His weathered face showed the wisdom of many seasons. Gray hair fell to his shoulders beneath a simple headband. Authority radiated from his quiet presence. Nahuel stood at his chief's right side. Relief flickered across his features when he saw Ilara arrive safely, but tension filled the space between them like smoke from green wood. War Chief Ayana stepped forward before formal greetings could begin. His younger face bore the harsh marks of constant conflict. Scars crisscrossed his arms from countless battles. Anger burned in his black eyes. The challenge came without ceremony. Ayana declared the proposed marriage an insult to Apache blood. No outsider deserved to join their people through sacred bonds. Ancient laws required proof of worthiness. Chief Apache listened to his brother's words with patient silence. Tribal unity mattered more than personal opinions, but sacred law also carried weight that could not be ignored. Ayana pointed toward a small dwelling at the camp's edge. Inside lay Little Bear, a 7-year-old boy who had been dying for 3 days. Their medicine man had tried every known remedy. The child's spirit was already walking toward the ancestor lands. The test was simple but brutal. Heal the boy or prove herself unworthy of Apache marriage. Failure would shame both Ilara and Nahuel before the entire tribe. Success would silence even the harshest critics. Ilara entered the dwelling with steady steps. The smell of sickness hung heavy in the confined space. Little Bear lay motionless on a bed of soft furs. His skin had turned yellow as dried corn. The tribal medicine man sat beside his patient with downcast eyes. His painted face could not hide the defeat written in every line. All his knowledge had failed this innocent child. Ilara knelt beside the boy and placed gentle hands on his burning forehead. Her grandmother's teachings flooded back through the years. 3 healing traditions merged in her memory like streams joining a river. The symptoms told a clear story: yellow skin, labored breathing, swollen belly. This was not disease but poisoning. Something had contaminated the water or food the child consumed. She examined Little Bear's fingernails and tongue. The signs confirmed her suspicions: metal poisoning from tainted water sources. The tribal medicine man had treated disease when the real enemy was contamination. Outside the dwelling, curious warriors gathered to watch. Nahuel translated their worried conversations for Chief Apache. Some called for immediate action if the boy died. Others wondered if the spirits had sent Ilara to save him. Ilara worked with focused intensity. She ground Cherokee healing roots into fine powder. African detoxification methods guided her preparation of cleansing teas. Plantation medicine taught her how to combine different traditions. Her grandmother's voice seemed to whisper instructions from beyond the grave. Mix the willow bark with mountain mint. Add drops of pine needle oil. Create harmony between competing remedies. The boy's mother watched every movement with desperate hope. Her tear-stained face reflected the agony of losing a child. Faith and doubt warred in her dark eyes. Ilara lifted Little Bear's head and fed him small sips of the healing mixture. His body accepted the medicine without resistance. She massaged his swollen stomach with gentle circular motions. Hours passed like seasons as the camp waited for results. Warriors took turns checking on the boy's progress. Women brought food and water for Ilara, but she refused to leave his side. The first sign of improvement came near midnight. Little Bear's breathing grew deeper and more regular. Color began returning to his pale cheeks. The swelling in his belly decreased noticeably. By dawn, the transformation was undeniable. The boy sat up and asked for his mother. His yellow skin had returned to healthy bronze. The fever that had burned for days was completely gone. Warriors who had doubted Alara's abilities now stared in amazement. The tribal medicine man examined his former patient with wonder and growing respect. Even War Chief Ayana could not deny the miracle, but Nahul's revelation changed everything. He spoke to the gathered crowd in multiple languages. English words flowed into Spanish phrases and Apache expressions. His linguistic skills amazed even his own people. The young warrior had hidden his greatest talent from everyone. Languages came to him like songs to a bird. He dreamed of using these abilities to build bridges between warring cultures. Alara understood his vision immediately. Both were outsiders who saw possibilities others missed. Both carried knowledge that could heal divisions between peoples. Both faced resistance from their own communities for daring to hope. War Chief Ayana made his final stand as doubt crept into his certainty. The healing proved Alara's spiritual power, but marriage still required Apache blood. Tradition could not bend for individual circumstances. Little Bear's recovery sent shockwaves through the Apache camp. Warriors who had watched their medicine man fail now witnessed impossible healing. The boy ran through the camp with restored energy while his mother wept tears of joy. The tribal medicine man approached Alara with humble respect. His painted face showed wonder instead of wounded pride. He examined her healing mixture and asked questions about her methods. Alara shared her knowledge freely. Cherokee roots grew in these same mountains. African techniques could work with local plants. Different traditions strengthen each other when combined with wisdom. Young Apache women gathered around to learn. They had never seen healing that drew from multiple cultures. Their questions revealed genuine curiosity about her grandmother's teachings. But War Chief Ayana refused to accept defeat. His scarred face twisted with frustration as he watched the growing admiration for Alara. The healing meant nothing if Apache blood remained pure. He stood before the central fire and addressed the entire tribe. Sacred marriage required Apache heritage. No outsider could join their people regardless of spiritual gifts. Blood called to blood across all generations. Chief Aponi faced an impossible choice. His brother commanded significant support among the warriors, but ancient law clearly favored Alara after her miraculous healing. The tribe's unity hung in the balance. Alara rose to address the gathered Apache people. Her voice carried across the silent camp with quiet authority. She spoke not of her own worthiness, but of universal truths that transcended tribal boundaries. Healing knew no race or culture. Compassion recognized no artificial divisions between peoples. She had saved Nahul not because of his Apache blood, but because all life held sacred value. Her words struck like arrows finding their mark. Even hardened warriors nodded at the simple wisdom. Children listened with wide eyes to concepts they instinctively understood. The speech revealed character that impressed even Ayana's supporters. This woman possessed moral strength that could not be faked or learned. Her dignity shone brighter than any bloodline. Nahul stepped forward to support her words. His own revelation had shocked the tribe into reconsidering their assumptions. His linguistic abilities opened new possibilities for their survival. He spoke of his secret dream to become a bridge between cultures. Apache, Mexican, and American conflicts could be resolved through communication rather than warfare. His gifts matched Alara's healing abilities. Both were outsiders who saw beyond the limitations others accepted. Both carried talents their communities needed but failed to recognize. Both offered hope for a future built on cooperation instead of conflict. The tribal council gathered in urgent session as tensions mounted. Elder voices mixed with younger opinions in heated debate. Some demanded strict adherence to blood requirements. Others argued that spiritual bonds transcended such limitations. Three Feathers spoke for the younger generation. He had witnessed the sacred rescue at the river. The spirits had clearly chosen Alara through her selfless actions. Fighting this divine selection would bring bad fortune. War Chief Ayana made one final desperate argument. Apache survival depended on maintaining their distinct identity. Mixing with outsiders would dilute their strength and destroy their culture. But his words rang hollow after witnessing Alara's healing power. She had saved an Apache child using knowledge that enhanced rather than threatened their traditions. Her presence strengthened rather than weakened their community. Chief Aponi prepared to render judgment when dust clouds appeared on the horizon. Riders approached the camp at dangerous speed. The leader wore a silver star that caught the afternoon sun. Sheriff McCree arrived with 6 armed deputies. Their horses were lathered with sweat from the hard ride. Weapons hung ready at their sides as they surveyed the Apache camp with hostile eyes. The sheriff demanded Alara's immediate release from savage captivity. His voice carried the authority of territorial law and territorial prejudice. No civilized woman belonged among hostile tribes, but Chief Aponi's response stunned everyone present. The wise leader revealed knowledge that changed everything. McCree had been secretly selling contaminated supplies to the Apache people. The bad water that had nearly killed Little Bear came from barrels bearing McCree's trading mark. Metal poisoning resulted from his deliberate sabotage of tribal water sources. His corruption had been slowly murdering Apache children. Alara's healing had inadvertently exposed the sheriff's crimes. Her success in treating metal poisoning revealed the true source of the tribe's recent illnesses. McCree's guilt stood exposed before 3 communities. The revelation explained his desperate efforts to prevent Apache settler communication. His racist rhetoric served to maintain divisions that concealed his criminal activities. War profited him more than peace. Nahul's translation skills became crucial as the full scope of McCree's betrayal emerged. He converted Apache accusations into English testimony that even the deputies could not ignore. The corrupt sheriff had been playing all sides against each other. He sold poisoned goods to the Apache while stirring up settler fears of tribal retaliation. Conflict lined his pockets while innocent people died. His deputies realized they had been manipulated into supporting a murderer. Their oath demanded justice regardless of race or culture. McCree's crimes transcended all tribal boundaries. War Chief Ayana's opposition to Alara crumbled in the face of this revelation. She had not only healed Apache children but exposed their greatest enemy. Her worthiness could no longer be questioned. The corrupt sheriff reached for his weapon as his guilt became undeniable. But Apache warriors and territorial deputies surrounded him together. His reign of poisonous hatred was finally ending. Unity born from shared truth replaced the artificial divisions McCree had cultivated. 3 communities discovered they had been fighting the wrong enemy all along. McCree's hand froze halfway to his gun as Apache warriors, and his own deputies closed ranks around him. The corrupt sheriff realized his web of lies had finally collapsed. Years of playing communities against each other while poisoning innocent children had reached its end. Deputy Johnson stepped forward with obvious disgust. He had served under McCree for 3 years without knowing the truth. The badge on his chest felt heavy with shame as he drew his handcuffs. The other deputies followed Johnson's lead. Their oath to protect and serve meant nothing if they supported a child killer. McCree's racist manipulation had blinded them to his real crimes. Chief Aponi addressed the mixed crowd of Apache warriors and territorial lawmen. Nahul translated his words with growing confidence. Justice required cooperation between all communities that McCree had tried to divide. The evidence was overwhelming once examined honestly. Poisoned water barrels bore McCree's trading stamps. Sick Apache children had consumed his contaminated supplies. His guilt stretched back months through a pattern of deliberate sabotage. War Chief Ayana approached Alara with newfound respect. His opposition had been based on protecting his people from outside threats. but she had proven herself their greatest ally by exposing their true enemy. He formally withdrew his challenges to the marriage. Apache law was clear about spiritual bonds created through sacred rescue. Alara had not only fulfilled the requirements but exceeded them through her heroic actions. Little Bear's mother brought her son forward to thank his healer personally. The boy's restored health stood as living proof of Alara's worthiness. His bright eyes and renewed energy silenced any remaining doubts. McCree made one desperate attempt to escape during the emotional reunion. He spurred his horse toward the canyon trail, but Apache scouts had already blocked every exit. His corruption had finally trapped him completely. The fugitive sheriff was dragged back to face justice from the communities he had betrayed. His face showed the defeat of a man who had built his power on lies and hatred. Truth had stripped away his authority and exposed his crimes. Chief Apache called for a formal council to determine McCree's fate. Representatives from all three communities would decide his punishment. Apache law, territorial justice, and moral authority would combine to ensure fairness. But first came the question of Alara and Nahul's union. The spiritual bond remained valid despite the external conflicts it had revealed. Chief Apache offered them a choice that honored both tradition and personal freedom. They could proceed with the sacred marriage to fulfill ancient law, or they could consider the debt paid through Alara's service to the tribe. Either path would satisfy Apache customs and maintain tribal honor. Alara looked at Nahul across the circle of witnesses. Their shared ordeal had revealed character depths in both of them. His linguistic gifts matched her healing abilities. His vision of unity aligned with her desire for peace. The choice came not from obligation but from genuine connection. They had discovered compatibility through crisis and mutual respect through hardship. Their bond transcended the circumstances that had brought them together. Nahul spoke first in Apache, then English, then Spanish. His words carried to every person present regardless of their native tongue. He chose marriage not from duty but from love that had grown through understanding. Alara's response moved even hardened warriors to respectful silence. She accepted his proposal because they shared dreams of building bridges between divided peoples. Their union would symbolize possibilities others could barely imagine. The wedding preparations began immediately under Chief Apache's direction. Apache traditions would blend with customs from Alara's African heritage and frontier practices. Three cultures would contribute to one sacred ceremony. Young Apache women helped Alara prepare traditional wedding attire. They wove beads and feathers into patterns that honored her healing gifts. She shared stories of her grandmother's wisdom while they worked together. Nahul met with the tribal elders to receive marriage counseling steeped in Apache wisdom. They spoke of responsibility, partnership, and the sacred nature of joining two spirits in permanent bond. But the ceremony would wait until McCree faced judgment for his crimes. Justice demanded resolution before celebration could begin. The corrupt sheriff's trial would clear the air between all communities. Deputy Johnson took charge of presenting evidence against his former boss. Poisoned water samples, forged trading documents, and witness testimony painted a clear picture of systematic murder and fraud. Apache mothers testified about their children's mysterious illnesses. Territorial merchants revealed McCree's threats against honest trading. The pattern of corruption stretched back years through multiple communities. Alara's medical expertise proved crucial in explaining the poisoning methods. Her healing knowledge worked in reverse to demonstrate how McCree had deliberately contaminated water supplies with metal particles. The trial lasted 3 days as representatives from each community presented their evidence. McCree's guilt became undeniable as witness after witness exposed his crimes and manipulation tactics. His sentence reflected the severity of poisoning children while inciting racial warfare for personal profit. Prison would separate him from the communities he had nearly destroyed through calculated hatred. The corrupt sheriff's removal cleared the way for genuine cooperation between Apache, Mexican, and American settlers. Honest trade could replace exploitation. Understanding could grow where suspicion had festered. Deputy Johnson accepted temporary responsibility for maintaining law in Silver Rock. His first official act was establishing fair trading protocols with Apache representatives. Nahuel's translation skills proved invaluable in these negotiations. Chief Aponi declared the marriage ceremony would proceed the following morning. 3 communities would witness the union of 2 hearts that had bridged every artificial division McCree had created. Dawn broke over the Apache camp with golden light that seemed to bless the wedding preparations. 3 communities had worked through the night to create a ceremony that honored all their traditions. Apache drums would beat alongside frontier fiddles and songs from Ilara's African heritage. Chief Aponi stood before the sacred fire as representatives from each culture gathered in a great circle. Deputy Johnson brought honest settlers from Silver Rock. Apache elders wore their finest ceremonial dress. Mexican traders who had suffered under McCree's corruption came to witness justice transformed into celebration. Ilara emerged from the women's lodge wearing a dress that told the story of 3 peoples. Apache beadwork covered the bodice in patterns representing healing and unity. African symbols her grandmother had taught her decorated the sleeves. Frontier lace trimmed the hem in acknowledgement of her mountain home. Nahuel waited beside Chief Aponi in traditional Apache wedding attire, enhanced with personal touches. A necklace of river stones honored the place where Ilara had saved his life. Feathers from 3 different birds represented the cultures now joining through their marriage. The ceremony began with Apache blessings spoken in the ancient tongue. Chief Aponi called upon the spirits to witness this union born from sacred rescue and nurtured through shared trials. His words carried the weight of generations. Ilara and Nahuel exchanged vows that transcended any single tradition. They promised to heal divisions between peoples just as Ilara had healed Little Bear. Their children would grow up knowing the wisdom of multiple cultures. The ring exchange used bands forged from silver mined in Apache territory, crafted by Mexican artisans, and blessed by a frontier preacher who had ridden from the nearest town. Each element represented cooperation replacing conflict. Little Bear stepped forward to present the couple with a gift from the children of all 3 communities. They had woven a blanket using techniques learned from Apache grandmothers, African traditions Ilara had shared, and frontier patterns familiar to settler families. The wedding feast featured foods that celebrated every culture present. Apache corn dishes shared tables with frontier stews and Mexican spices. Women who had viewed each other with suspicion now exchanged recipes and cooking techniques. Nahuel demonstrated his linguistic gifts by translating toasts offered in multiple languages. His abilities allowed every guest to participate fully regardless of their native tongue. The celebration became a model for future cooperation. War Chief Iana formally welcomed Ilara into the Apache tribe with a speech that acknowledged his previous opposition. Her healing of Little Bear and exposure of McCree's crimes had proven her worthiness beyond any doubt. She was now Apache by choice and deed. The dancing continued past midnight as 3 musical traditions blended into something entirely new. Apache drums provided rhythm for frontier reels, while Mexican guitars added melody. Children from all communities played together without seeing artificial divisions. But the real celebration was the signing of trading agreements that would prevent future conflicts. Nahuel's translation work and Ilara's mediation skills had created frameworks for honest commerce between all parties. Deputy Johnson announced the establishment of a new trading post at the junction of 3 territories. The location would serve as neutral ground where all cultures could meet safely. Ilara and Nahuel would manage the operation as husband and wife. 6 months later, the Freeman-Nahuel Trading Post had become the most successful commercial venture in the territory. Ilara's medical practice drew patients from hundreds of miles around. Her reputation for miraculous healing spread through word of mouth. Nahuel's linguistic abilities made him indispensable for resolving disputes between different communities. His patient translation work prevented conflicts that could have escalated into violence. Peace proved more profitable than war for everyone involved. The trading post employed workers from all three cultures. Apache women sold traditional crafts alongside frontier goods and Mexican imports. Former enemies now worked side by side toward common prosperity. Little Bear had grown strong and healthy under Alara's continued care. His recovery remained a powerful symbol of what became possible when artificial barriers fell away. Other Apache children learned English from Nahuel, while settler kids picked up Apache words. Sheriff McCree served his sentence in territorial prison, forgotten by the communities he had tried to destroy. His replacement, Deputy Johnson, maintained law through cooperation rather than intimidation. Crime rates dropped as economic opportunities increased. The success story attracted attention from territorial governors and federal officials. The Freeman-Nahuel model became a template for peaceful coexistence throughout the expanding frontier. Other communities requested consultation on replicating their achievements. Alara's former reputation as the cursed mountain Black Widow had transformed completely. She was now known as the bridge builder, the healer of nations, and the woman who saved 3 peoples. Her dignity had overcome every prejudice. On quiet evenings, she and Nahuel sat on their porch overlooking the valley where 3 cultures now thrived together. Their love story had become legend, but their daily work of building understanding remained ongoing. The couple expected their first child, who would grow up knowing no artificial divisions between peoples. The baby would speak multiple languages, understand diverse healing traditions, and see cooperation as natural rather than extraordinary. Their story proved that individual courage could transform entire communities when guided by dignity, truth, and respect for all people. Love had conquered hatred through patience rather than force. And that is all to the story for now. Please let me know where you are tuning in from. Perhaps we will create a story there. Consider liking this video and subscribing to our channel. And if you enjoy our content, click this video on your screen. I promise you it's worth watching. See you tomorrow.